This is Investment Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Daily live streaming interactive featuring Mrs. Backup. Subscribe, hit the notification, smash the likes. Now, here's Backup Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to Investment Perspectives, everybody. I'm Brad Kimes. You can follow me on Twitter at Backup Bradley. Thank you guys again for breaking 15,000 subscribers. I'm telling you right now, this has been one heck of a ride, and I'm so glad that we all get to do it together. Okay, let's get into the information today. First of all, a couple pieces of news before we get started. Thank you to Crypto Poet, Ripple partner Temenos, and HCL Tech signed 7-year exclusive partnership. Now, just touching on this quickly because we know that Temenos has a relationship with Ripple. So I just wanted to highlight that there's some motion there with HCL Tech signing a 7-year exclusive partnership with Temenos. To me, when I look at this, what I see, it tells me something very clear, which just tells me that we are starting to see a more clear connection between the market infrastructure, between the different players of the world that can make a difference. Temenos is one of those players, along with Ripple. So, okay, moving on, we come to this post from Ian Northing, one of the community's favorites. How can you not love Ian Northing and all his posts? Shout out to Ian. Here is a great post here that says, today we saw the launch of Interwork Alliance, IWA, with more than 30 organizations participating. IBM, Ing, Microsoft, NASDAQ, R3, in launch of a new token standards body, Ledger Insights. Now, this is fantastic because now in the article, it does not specifically highlight Ripple. It does not specifically highlight XRP. But if you are following the investment with Ripple and XRP, you understand that R3 has the Corda platform that businesses build on, and that gives them access to the Corda settler, which also has the option to settle with the digital asset XRP. Very good to see R3 a part of this new standards body and organization that's been created, IWA, Interwork Alliance. Okay, now, for the bigger news, I want to remind everybody here that, we're really watching not only the market infrastructure of the crypto digital asset space be built, but what we're also witnessing is the end of the wild, wild west. That's right, a young asset class that has not properly been legitimately introduced to the world as of yet, but certainly has made its way onto the map. And I think it's not far from getting that introduction to the world. But what we're seeing here is a further trend that is revealing itself to be more than just a trend, but the way that things get done. Really quickly, if I could just recap here. In another 19 days or so, we're going to have the Financial Action Task Force first year deadline for KYC AML for all the crypto exchanges. How hard that the FATF will come into play here, we don't know. These are guidelines, not laws. However, the FATF is a regulatory body connected to the G20. They have made it very clear, and it's also something you can see on their writings, that if their guidelines are not taken seriously, the G20 regulatory body, FATF, can choose to begin a gray list situation on that particular country. If the country doesn't fall into compliance, they could choose to even blacklist that country. What we don't know is whether they'll do any of those things in another 19 days. I think more than anything, when they go to this first year review of a deadline, they're going to take a look across the globe and see which exchanges have made themselves compliant to the guidelines and which have not, and then drill down further to understand whether it is a lack of clarity from the country itself that they operate in, or whether it's just negligence of the exchange. I think highly that there will be a much different response depending on which answer that is. Okay, so with that being said, we have seen a trend where the international guidelines or regulations come out, and then domestically we see a reaction to those. In fact, when the FATF first came out with their guidelines last year in last June, we saw within 24 or 48 hours, Steve Mnuchin from the United States Treasury Department came out and endorsed those guidelines for the United States. Okay, so where am I going with all of this? Well, let's talk about it. We covered this from the World Economic Forum as well. This was the first 4, I guess you could say, tenets or framework for the BlockChain Bill of Rights, which was created by the World Economic Forum. Again, watching an international level of guidelines and regulations be created so we can then have the respective countries drill down with this framework in mind that's being developed to help craft and legitimize a new digital asset class. That is amazing. All right, so looking at this article, which we covered back in January, just to highlight, because we got some new information to look at, there were 4 basic framework bullet points here that kind of defined it. And it was agency interoperability, the right to own and manage data, privacy and security, the right to data protection, transparency and accessibility, the right to information about the system, accountability and governance, the right to understand available recourse. This was the first soft structure of creating a blockchain Bill of Rights. Now, here published on May 22nd, just a few days ago, actually, week or so, we see here on the worldeconomicforum.org page, we actually have a further clarity on the blockchain Bill of Rights with 16 Presidio principles, the foundational values of a decentralized future. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing that trend again of the international bodies release information, guidelines, and regs that build the framework for all the respective countries within the G20 and without to follow when they begin to craft the rules in their respective countries. Let's take a look at just some of these really quickly here. The Presidio principles still work off of the main 4 that we just covered. They're just drilling down on those 4 areas to get more clarity in each section here. So, applications of Presidio principles, applications built on top of blockchain-based systems should preserve the following participant rights. A participant should have access to information that would enable them to understand how a service is operated, including potential risk of the service, availability of source code, and rules and standards upon which it is based. Understand the potential risk and benefits of services use of blockchain technology. Understand system performance expectations and where the responsibility for service delivery lies. That is key right there. Where is the liability begin and end on these blockchain systems? Understand the rights and obligations of different participants in the systems. Let's see, create, manage independently, store cryptographic keys, custody, huge issue. Manage consent of data stored in third-party systems, absolutely. Port data between interoperable systems and parts of a system. Revoke consent for future data collection. Have access to information sufficient to facilitate system interoperability. Assess if their data is at risk through appropriate disclosure procedures, which may include but are not limited to an examination of audit results, certifications, or source code. Have their data protected in accordance with internationally recognized technical security standards. Limit data collection to that which is necessary and data use to purpose for which it was provided. Verify through third-party or self-created tools that operations have been completed and confirmed in accordance with the system's rules. Access information needed to understand the system's governance and rules. Pursue effective recourse mechanisms. opt out of using applications that don't treat data in accordance with internationally recognized governance and data protection standards, and rectify distributively false, inaccurate, or incomplete data when necessary. The principles include a menu of options for how organizations or individuals can take actions. List signatories is available to view, self-regulated, hold others accountable. The genesis for this idea came during the first meeting of the Forum's Global Blockchain Council in 2019. The content was developed and workshopped in sessions around the world, including an annual meeting in Davos in 2020 with a variety of members of the blockchain community, government officials, civil society members, and business leaders. Remember, Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple was at Davos. I would imagine, and I'm speculating, but I would imagine he was probably a part of that meeting. Okay, so here we go through the rest of this. This lays this out. Here's what I'm going to say here. You are witnessing the development not only of the market infrastructure being made clear when it comes to doing businesses and connect companies, whether it's, Temenos to the recent HCL tech company. That's actual market infrastructure connecting each other to be able to do business together in the future. That has to happen. That's a big part of it. But this is a big part of it too. And it's an international regulatory framework, a blockchain bill of rights that is being constructed and drafted to where the world can respectively be able to develop the laws as they see fit for their countries, but without creating the kind of confusion that they're so out of line with one another that you would have a problem with country A or country B because the rules are so different. What I see here is pretty fascinating because not only does it show progress on an international level, but I think the larger narrative here for me is just simply this, and this falls in line greatly with what you're going to see with the documentary we are making called Cryptonaires. The Wild Wild West is over. And government regulation, and even in a cynical way, the Orwellian approach is well on its way. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. If you like the content, hit the like and subscribe. It's getting really exciting. The world has a blockchain bill of rights.